Hi, it's me, it's Johnyboy. I'm start the car now. What a beautiful day here in Cornwall. I'm down in Cornwall, so I've come to see Glenn Humphries.
I like music, man. That one.
Right, we're away. I'll edit this now a sec. Well, Glenn, here we are. We're in Cornwall, and where are we?
Well, we're in our yard, our little cabin office. It's a little room where we bring a few clients, think through a few designs, show them a few samples of materials, and generally have a cup of tea before we agree any landscaping work.
Right, okay. So, you're in the landscaping business, okay? You design, you build. Tell us a little bit about your business and, you know, where you are exactly in Cornwall here, and you know, the infrastructure of your business now you run.
Okay, well, we're based in Truro, down the southwest of Cornwall, right on the main A30, which is really good because we've got good access to most of Cornwall. Been trading now for around about 21 years, 16 employees, and specialise in predominantly domestic design and build.
Right, okay, 21 years, that's a long time.
21 years, a long time, yeah.
Yeah, and all businesses will have their ups and downs, and so what I want to know, what's the worst part been for you in business, and how did you get over that? What was the difficult period?
I think probably the first couple of years of going, you ride a crest of a wave and it's really good. Then when you were 5 or 6 years into it, you get all the wear and tear, you get the stress, you get the I need to start moving the company forward, which direction am I going, and you get the choices then. Once you can get your head around that and know how to scale up and work scaling up, it then goes quite straightforward. But initially it was at the 5-year stage, is which direction are we going to go and how to really manage the stress of the day. You know, you have clients ringing you up really early, you have clients ringing you up really late, you have a job that goes slightly a bit wrong or go behind because of the weather or something like that, and it's not so much dealing with that, that's easy to deal with, anybody can deal with that, but it's dealing with the knock-on pressures from the grief from the clients, or rearranging the materials, or trying to change materials at the last minute or something like that. So it's mainly, for me, it was coping with the day-to-day stress of things. Once you get a system in your head and a working system, it becomes quite enjoyable again.
There's a couple of things there about scaling up I want to ask you about. You know, did you want to scale up? Was that your intention? And do you think some of the problems that was caused, do you think they were your own fault, or do you think it was, and have you put that in check now with those problems? Are they reoccurring, or have you brought that to an end? Was there problems that you created that you didn't realise you were doing?
Yeah, problems I created is you know what it's like. You get a customer ring up and the customer's always right. The customer, whatever the customer wants, you accommodate. And what you would find you were doing, you would be working 7 days a week to please a client. You'll be running around to see lots of clients, and you'll be just basically being a busy fool. So what I learned...
Is that being a yes man?
Yes man, yeah. So what I learned I needed to do is I needed to take a step back. I needed someone to help me run my diary. So what we've done is we got a little secretary girl in. One of her main jobs is to run a diary. So if a client phones me out through, I have 4 slots in my diary, 3 a week. Okay. And they're the only 4 slots I can book in. Once they're full, it goes straight to my secretary. My secretary will then book the next slots for me. So I know there's no double booking, or actually that client's in field, I've got to see another one at 6 o'clock. Actually I could probably do 7 o'clock, and then I'm there till 9 o'clock. And then you go home and then you start the paperwork. It's all a bit more manageable now. Right,
so when they're making those appointments for you, were you really strict with the time allocated as well?
We try, well, it's like everything. We tend to try and get a gauge from a client. If a client says, I've got a new build house that's about 50 square metres and I want a lawn on it, you know really that consultancy is going to take you no more than half an hour, and probably half an hour to drive there. Nothing's no further than half an hour, 3/4 an hour in Cornwall.
Okay.
So you can roughly book a slot in the diary. We tend to leave probably a 2 hour slot between appointments, so it gives me time to get there and time with the client. If it's a bespoke design and build job, which we're getting a lot of at the moment, what we tend to do is we tend to book out 2 hours solid to the client from when we get there. So it's normally a 3 hour slot which is actually booked in, and then if I gain any extra time, it then gives me time to actually sit in my van and then remotely work through and try to do some of the paperwork. So if I go and see a client and they want like a porcelain paving, I will literally, I've learnt now to sit straight in the van and actually get hold of my IDM rep and say, actually, I want a price for so many square metres of that paving before I go to the next job.
Right, okay. So, 21 years ago, you started out and it was just yourself and another guy, or?
Yeah, no, just myself, my dad, because we came on the family farm and he let me rent the yard off the family. He was a farmer by trade, but he was a really, really good mechanic, so I employed my dad to help me with machinery, so he would service my van for me, fix the lawnmower when I broke it, because most people know me, I break things quite a lot.
Right, okay.
And he came on to do that, and then I got a little bit busier, so we actually got a little apprentice on to help us on. Apprentice was on for years, but then Dad would then get another van and he would ferry materials to us and then take materials away, and he would work in that side of it. And then as work generated and as it does, word of mouth, reputation, you bounce and you scale, and you bounce and you scale, and you work it up to roughly where it's to now.
Yeah. Carl, can you just check that's still running? So I can edit this out, that's no problem. And this one's still running?
Yeah.
Good. So, was it, did you stay at those numbers for 5 years, or was it after 2 years or 3 years? When did you actually start growing your staff?
We stayed still for probably around about 3 to 4 years, and then we started growing at the 5 year mark, which I think was probably where the main bulk of the stress came in, is having to deal with the amount of work that came in. And then what we tend to do is we tend to try to recruit through a training policy. So we either get a young apprentice and we look at that young apprentice becoming a semi-skilled member of staff within 3 years.
Okay.
So if you take an apprentice on in 2010, by 2013 he's skilled and he'll be out doing jobs with a crew leader, and then hence then the following year you get another apprentice. So every year we got a new apprentice on and they grew through the company. And that's the way we went. So we developed by in-house training, and then when we needed a little bit specific, if we wanted to have an additional, an extra crew leader, if we wanted someone that was to, if someone left and we wanted a new paver or a new artificial grass installer or something like that, we would then source that and outsource that and advertise separately.
So this in-house training thing, was that something that you developed quickly, that you recognised that's what you needed, or were you inspired by anywhere else?
Well, it's the only way to go. You know as well as I do, if anybody's half decent at their job, they're either at the top of the range within a company, like quite a few of my staff are, or they say, okay, I'm going to get a van, I'm going to go alone and I'm going to do it myself, and they can go out, they can earn the money, they can earn a decent wage, and they can have a lifestyle business quite easy. So what we found is the easiest way of actually doing it is to get the loyalty, the dedication from the staff, is to take a young lad on and say, this is the right way of doing it, the apprenticeship and everything like that, and this is the way within GH how we would train you to how we would want you to do the job with us, and they would progress through the company. So that, granted, they'll come on as apprentice, they'll spend 1 day a week at college, and then they'll go to 2 days a week at college, and then they'll do bits and bobs in between. Their jobs to start off with, they'll be raking, they'll be picking up soil, they'll be moving materials, and then they'll be learning how to cut slabs, and they'll be using how to butter up slabs, and they'll be laying out, how to lay a slab. And then eventually within their 3rd year they're setting laser level, they're setting print lines, they're cutting slabs and they're actually laying the paving on their own with very little direction. So then you can see the young lads grow. What's been one of the main things for us to diversify with our company, because we cover anything horticulturally minded, so it could be anything from grass cutting to hedge cutting to bespoke pruning for a client, or it could be a bespoke design and build, or it could be sending a tractor out to top someone's field or to do some stock fencing or something like that. Then the young lads, as they grow through the company, if they decide they want to do something, providing it's within our remit and it's something they're really passionate about, to keep them in the company because they're worthwhile keeping, we will let them naturally go into the areas which they like doing.
Because you've got teams you've got a maintenance team, I believe.
Maintenance team, yeah.
And hardscapes?
Hardscapes, yeah, soft skates, and then we've also got the agricultural side, which is the tumble grinder, the telehandler works, the paddocks, the chain harrowing, the top dressing, the big lawn areas of feeding, the contract grass cutting, a couple of ride-on tractors that go out and cut sports fields and playing areas and public open spaces.
Right. Okay.
And that all really developed, especially the contract work, all really developed for the young lads deciding this is what they prefer doing. They like driving machinery, they like doing that. So if they're worth keeping, and they're nice guys, you invest into that, you let them go into spread their wings.
It seems as if you're running it exactly how you want it at the moment. Is there anywhere that you want to improve on things at the moment? If you could, if you could afford it, whether it's financially or whatever, how would you improve what you're doing now, or would you like to improve anything?
I think probably what I would like to do myself personally, and it is happening. I think anybody in Cornwall know me, is I would like to see my guys take that little bit more ownership, and basically for me to take a little bit more step back from the company, because you do so many years, quite a few hours a week, that sometimes you sit back and you think, well, okay, I want to take a step back from me, and it's been quite good, especially the last 12 months especially. I've actually managed to do that. Over the next 12 months, yes, I want to take a step back. So my aim is to see my crew leaders become functioning crew leaders, self-sufficient, to actually then go to the next step where they begin to order materials. Some of them are going out, some of them are going out quoting, looking at jobs, everything like that. They come back and we rate them up. I'm more than happy once we actually get going with it to see them, take that little step forward for the company to take the next. Our company's at capacity now. It's as much as I want to go with the company.
Okay.
So 16 guys is more, easy manageable. I can do it quite easy. But if I had 17, 18, 20 guys, I don't want to do that. But there's a couple of guys that's more than happy to take on the next role and then add more staff to the company to push on the areas they want to go.
How far are you off from achieving that?
6 months, 8 months, 12 months?
Oh, really? Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. The guys are really, really well motivated. They know what they want to do. They know what they want out of life. And I think they can see the opportunity that we've been given.
Can you tell us a little bit about the teams and who you've got that's working with you? Because I think what I've seen, over my visits over the last year coming down and seeing you, is that they owe you, they have a lot of respect for you, don't they? And they do. You can see it. It's
well, we get on as we try to get on as a family. Invariably, families fall out and we have bickers, and it is 90% only bickers, and it's probably because of a little bit of a stressful job or bad weather or something like that. But essentially, the company is split down, like I said before. So we have one main supervisor, which is Jamie, and Jamie's my right hand man. He basically, when I'm not around, the company runs through Jamie. So if there's any problems, the boys phone Jamie. Jamie makes that decision. So it means that a van's gone wrong and he's got to spend £2,000 that day to fix that van. He has authority to do that. And it's quite nice to be able to do that. Underneath Jamie, what we have is team leaders. So you've got Ashley, Richard, Ruben and Nigel, which will form, and Steve of course, will form team leaders. Basically what they do is they're charged with going out to each site every single day and to make sure that site is run and run on through. And then underneath them they have their semi-skilled member of staff, which will be the guy that will do the odd cut for them, lay the odd bit of pavement while they're doing a recessed drain, and then have their labour on, which will come on. And the labourers are, again, either apprentice or labourers that just come on, but what we look at trying to do is trying to bring the labourers further in the company. So any labourers that came on with the last year and a half, have all been sat down when they've had their appraisals and meetings, and it's like, what would you like to do? Do you want to do a horticulture qualification? Do you want to do a plastering course? Do you want to go and learn about tree surveys or something like that? They can choose the course they want to do. Do you want to drive a telehandler? So they can pick the course they want to do. We'll send them the course of qualifications, and then that will give them the next scope within the company to move forward for a new apprentice to come in and fill their gap.
So you're constantly educating them with these training days. I understand the other day you did that health and safety.
Yes, yeah. Full day, full health and safety at work. We don't send a nominated person. What we do is we send every single member of staff for the health and safety. Always in the back of my mind, if you send your team leader on as a nominated health and safety person and a nominated first aider, the main thing that happens is what happens if there's an accident with that team leader. So why don't you just close the company down? Yes, on average it costs £300 every 3 years for a person to put for the health and safety and first aid, but that's £100 a year, just under £10 a month. Peanuts.
It's
So you
nothing,
might
is
as
it?
well do things right and close it down. The boys respect you for it. They get a day off to roll around on the floor and try the recovery position. They get a passy in return for dinner time and all that side of stuff. But at the end of the day, they've got that little bit of training, they've got that knowledge, and they know that we're dotting the I's and crossing the T's and doing everything physically possible to give them the experience, the education, and what they need to do their job right.
How important is it, Glenn, to have those sorts of elements in place of that training? How has it helped the business to, like people say, really do you really need how often does that happen? You can call 999, but how important is it for, to have that in place? How important? Tell me.
Well, if anybody knows me, they know I'm a bit of a stickler for it. So yeah, it is. We are quite silly with it. Not, I wouldn't say silly with it, but we like to make sure everything's in place. So at the end of the day, everything about life is to make sure that life is easy and life shouldn't be hard. So if you're doing something like manual handling every day, why wouldn't the sense be to send someone out to struggle and get a bad back when you can send them on an easy course or a demonstration course, or even have a tool that talks in the house and show a young person how to live properly, because it make their day easier, they'll be happier, they'll be smiling, they won't be complaining, and life will go easier. For things like gaining contracts with the local authorities, the local contracts and the builders, if we can show compliance, which means we've got public liability, employers liability, our guys have gone on CSCS cards, they've done their health and safety, they've done their first aid, they're CHAS aware, they've ticked all the boxes on health and safety.
Tell us a little bit about CHAS, because
CHAS is a qualification and proof scheme where they're basically updated with health and safety to be able to work on a building site. That's the name in terms of it. Basically what they do is then if you've got all those accreditations, if the guys are all qualified on that, you then get invited by the larger companies such as Kia's, Persimmon, Wayne Homes.
Is that where the big bucks are?
Can be.
Yeah.
We find our demographic in Cornwall is the private design and build. We've got a reputation for bespoke design and build in Cornwall. Building works, there's lots of companies, lots of really good companies in Cornwall that will do the likes of Persimmon, Wayne Homes. They'll go in, they'll throw the fencing up, put the turfing down, they'll do all the street planting, the streetscape and everything like that, and they're geared right up for it, and that's what they like doing day in, day out. Job satisfaction for us, I think I would probably see a nice swimming pool put in with some lovely paving around it, a nice big olive tree and a Core-10 steel planter made.
Is this the all perfect garden now?
By GHL Bespoke. Yeah, I would prefer to see that. There's nothing worse than being on a building site and being up to your top of your shins in mud trying to lay turf because they need it doing because the house has been handed over next week. That's maybe where we've diversified at this stage. But work's work. If it's there, if it needs doing, if they want us to do it, we'll do it.
I said to you this morning about you getting away and allowing the guys to sort of get on with it. Is it hard to sort of relinquish a little bit of control for you, having built what you've built?
Yeah, of course it is, and you've got your style, you've got your way you want to do things, you've got your certain. If anybody knows me, my OCD, I've got certain ways I like things to be done and to be finished off, and the standards to be finished off to. But there's a really good sensation when you're actually on site and you actually turn around and your supervisor says to you, or your team leader says to you, actually boss, I've got this. Go and walk your dog for a couple of hours. We got this. You don't need to be here. What are you doing here?
Yeah, that says a lot.
Well, I'll tell you what, when you go, you give them half an hour and you pick up the telephone, you say, hey guys, how's it going? Do you want me to come back? Because you're a little bit lost. But then that's maybe part of me in life because I enjoy my job so much. I like being on site with my guys. First people say when they see any photographs that going into it, normally in the background, I'm in an hole somewhere. I'm digging a hole and want to dig it.
You're part of
building a dry stone wall because if I can jump in with the guys, if I can work alongside the guys, they respect me a little bit more because if it's raining, I'm not sitting in a nice warm cabin all day. I'm out with them and helping them through it. But it is quite nice.
So, I got to ask, and you've got to be honest with me, have you dropped any clangers over the years?
Or too many to mention.
Really?
Too many. They're really good things.
Tell us one, come on, tell us one. You've got to be honest, basically. There must be something.
Okay, I'll be really, really honest. Holiday house in Crantock. Client rang me up, long-standing client, good as gold. Unfortunately, her husband died, so she inherited the house. I'm going to let it out then, it's a holiday let. It's going to be let out Easter weekend. Absolutely no problems. could you do a paving terrace, quite a big paving terrace, and I like a really nice glass surround around it. They showed me a photograph of it. And I, oh yeah, really nice, yeah, really nice. He said, but I don't want the top stainless steel rail, because when you sit down, your eye is height of it, and I want to be able to see the ocean, the sea, I want to see Gold Rock in the background, and I want nothing to interfere. So just basically the stainless steel uprights and glass, not a problem. I went home, surveyed it, done the measurement, sent the quote off, accepted. Because we got a lead time, 3 months time, we came to do the work, I ordered the stainless steel railings. But unfortunately, I ordered it as per the photograph, not as she told me, and I ordered a top rail.
And was that expensive?
About £7,000.
And they never had it back? Or?
No, the client, well, we installed it and we thought we'd done a lovely job. It was bitter cold, it was a miserable time of the year because the coast was only like 500 metres away and we had driving salt wind coming up through. It was absolutely freezing. We spent the day struggling with the glass to get it in, looking really nice. The client rang up that evening and said, the glass is in, thank you very much. The only problem we got is not what we ordered.
Oh God.
So,
what was that moment like? That moment was a sinking.
There's always that 3-second pause and you say, okay, that's no problem. So obviously I've made a mistake. So obviously, you know, what is, first of all, you want to try and find out what's wrong with it because they don't say exactly what's wrong. Oh, you know, we said we didn't want the top stain, and it clicks straight away. I'm so sorry. Yep, that's absolutely no problems. Leave it with me. You're straight onto the supplier. Then, can you help us out? We've made a bit of a mistake. We put this in. Is there any way we can swap the post over and keep the glass?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no problems. You can do that. But the trouble is, the glass is slightly lower because you've got the top rail to get to your 1100 height. So therefore, you need new glass anyway. So fine. Okay, no problems. We take ownership. Can we have a whole new system, please?
Yeah. There aren't many companies now, or not just companies, people in general that take ownership. Do you think that's a quality for taking ownership?
Very much so. Yeah, very much so. And that's one thing we do pride ourselves on. If we muck up, and if we make a mistake, we'll hold our hands up. Something simple. It can be something simple like the contract guys might be out swimming around a holiday park, the caravans, and the kids are invariably, they're always around the caravan parks. They have gravel car parking. I don't know why. But the kids go out there, they sit on the gravel, on the car parking, and they chuck the stones onto the grass. And you go around with a big industrial blower and you blow the grass off before you start to try and take the stones off. No matter what, once a year we'll always break a window. But it's
really?
Always. It's just, it's a landscaper's, maintenance landscaper's pitfall. It's going to happen. No matter how good you do, you strim away from in the windows, you bag everything, you try and do everything, but invariably it happens. You just got to put your hands up straight away, take ownership and say, look, this is really sorry, this has happened, we'll deal with it.
We've covered this, but it's good that, you build a reputation there, don't you, where people, they can trust you, because that's the key word, is sometimes it's not being about that high performer, is it? It's about the trust game, isn't it?
Very much so.
The trusting,
and if people trust you, they'll call you back. So, like I say, we've been trading now over 20 years, and you tend to find that garden cycles, well, we're finding garden cycles in Cornwall are going between 6 and 9 years. So, if you've got some gardens, you've actually landscaped 3 times because originally you had the sandstone paving.
Right, okay.
There was all the ribbon arena with the natural edges and everything like that through. That was the big thing that everybody wanted. So we would go in and actually lay that and put that down. Styles changed. They like the sawn edge, the nice clean 5mm joint. Something like caramel cream that looks like glass when it's nice and wet. So you take the paving up, you remodel, or you might, instead of go for a dry stone wall, you might go for a cut stone wall with mason joints, a little less maintenance, a little bit more going with the detail, nice tight joints. And then of course you've now gone over to the porcelain. So what you do is each few years, as people maybe have a new kitchen, a new bathroom and everything like that, but invariably the high-end clients do, because they don't leave something down for 20 years, they change and they move. So we're actually finding that we're having repeat clients, whereas if you do a good job and get onto a good working relationship with the clients, open, transparent and fair, they'll call you back.
Are we still going that one, Carl?
Yeah.
Right, this may seem a good opportunity. Glenn, landscaping products, from when you started, and certainly from when I started, when I started, it was all about those 3x2 flagstones, and people were laying them, and the reconstituted concrete, and the dyes and everything. But look at the products we actually have now. Look at the products. You can't see it, but we've got these linear star planks now, and the porcelain. Is the porcelain? Is it going to be bigger than what they thought it was going to be, do you think?
I think porcelain's taken people by surprise because I think it came out really quick, and people have seen so many of the advantages of it. It's 98% non-porous. No one wants maintenance in the garden. No one really wants to spend days pressure washing the garden to get the black dollar spot out of the sandstone that invariably always gets stuck in it. They want to go out with a little bit of soapy water, scrub it down, hose it down, walk away from it, and it's easy. But not only that, the shades, the colours, the shapes, the textures, the actual format size of the slabs, big lay, 1.2 by 1.2, 700 by 700, 1.2 by 300. The scope that you can change is phenomenal. And you can actually try to get that finished look, the linear sort of tiles on the kitchen, if you choose it right, and you can almost match the tiles perfectly to come inside, outside, and it just blends. The cohesion between the house and the garden is so important these days that the products are there to do it.
Great word, cohesion, isn't
it?
It's a bit of a design principle, unity, cohesiveness, right?
Symmetry.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you think the general standard of landscaping, there's some good landscapers out there, but there aren't many good landscape designers, is there? Landscapers that design as well.
Yeah.
There's good ones, but there's some bad ones as well, aren't there?
There always is in everything you do. What you tend to find you do is the only thing I sometimes find when you look at it is someone can do a mitre cut, they could do an absolute stunning layer of paving job, and when they actually step back from it and they show an external photograph or a drone shot, which is really good these days, you actually sit and look at it and you say, well, that garden doesn't quite flow, it's quite tight, there's not much symmetry in it, it's quite boxed, it's everything like that, but the elements that works is perfect. What we try to do, we try to work in proportions. So if something's one size, you replicate that size by a certain amount, and then you re-replicate that size so that everything's all in cohesion, symmetry, everything flows. You're taking an aspect of the garden and everything flows from that aspect. So you're doing return shots, you're doing return views, but they all link together at the same time. We're quite renowned. We love curves. If anybody follows us on our Facebook page or Twitter page or anything like that, we don't make life simple for ourselves for some reason. We ought to go in and just say, okay, you want a square patio, there's a square patio, we'll put a box hedge around it, maybe a laurel ball or something like that, just to give it a little bit of height around it. We're different. We go in with a shape off a shape off a shape again, but we always make sure there's one point and those shapes come off one point. So the lead line always links back to one point.
Okay, that's interesting, that is, because I actually like curves as well. I think we did
the
a job.
Mickey Mouse effect.
Yeah.
That's the trouble, because if someone doesn't use one point, pinpoint, and they don't have the cohesion and symmetry and everything like that, you tend to find it's okay if you've got three together, you can't avoid it. But if you're linking lots of curves and maybe a retaining wall coming into it, when you step back on it, it does look. But if you pinpoint it and work it through, it's quite nice. We've done a really nice design for a lovely couple in Truro. It's everything, the house is slightly off square, so it's it's really, really tight. So when you actually look out, you don't actually look at the garden. So we've actually put a circle in it, but off that point, the retaining wall goes around at the circle. But the steps then, as they go up over the retaining wall, they get wider, but they go off the same angle as what the centre point is.
I've got to stop you here now, right? But you just talking about that, you can actually see, engage the passion you have, right, and how important it is. That's the thing that I read. I didn't mean to stop you then, but that was you could clearly see that, and that's good for clients, isn't it? That's good for the customer when you.
I think if you can show a bit of a passion, you can show that you love your job, and that maybe my pitfall in life. Maybe I love my job a little bit too much to do the hours I do, but you choose what you do. We would rather say, okay, rather than use a 600 by 300 and we're going to cope the top of a wall on that, and we're just going to take the edges off and a nice mitre and 50p piece it all the way around, we will template the top of a wall, and we will spend the time and cut every single one, so when you put it on, that top coping follows the same angle as that wall. And it's just, for us, it's the detailing, and once you get used to doing it, 3 hours on a job, 4 hours on a job, if you explain that to the client and if you show them that to the client, so this is what we can do, they're like, it's a no-brainer. Just get on with it, because you made a garden look £2,000 more expensive. Why an extra 4 or 5 hours work?
Are you going to stay with this design thing at the moment? When you've got those clients out there, for you now, right? Do you think when you show your passion to customers and they see it, and do you think they think, I wonder what sort of garden he's got, and what sort of garden have you got?
A lot of people ask me what sort of garden I got.
Yeah, okay. They do, yeah.
Yeah, they do. And lots of clients ask me the garden because you talk about styles and and I say, oh, what I love, is I love this sort of garden, that sort of garden, and like that. And they say, well, what sort of style you got? And I've got a 4-bedroom townhouse in the middle of Truro City.
Right, okay.
I've got probably 40 square metres of decking that the builder installed.
Oh, decking?
The builder installed.
Are you happy with that?
No, I hate it. But you know what? I leave my yard at 5 o'clock, I lock the door and I go back. But one thing I have got is I've got Dixonia Antarcticas, Restios, Azaleas, Musas, Astelias. I've got a nice selection of really, really quite select plant, which are in 2,000 litre pots. And people will tell you, my neighbours will tell you, I'm out there all the time, deadheading, weeding, pruning, watering. And when they grow really, really nice, and they're what we class as select specimen plants, they come back to our nursery, and then I take something else and I'll take it back, and that's what I use it for.
Okay.
So I would love to have a landscape garden. Probably when I do take a little step back and I build my dream house across the meadow over there, I will have it landscaped nice, and I'll have the time to dedicate to it. But I'm the sort of person that if I do something, I want to keep it perfect all the time.
Right, okay.
So at this precise moment, a nice clean, bleached down, clean decking, which is immaculate all the time, really, really suits me because there's no maintenance to it.
Right, okay. If you was choosing a paving product now, there's so much on the market now, right? People look at you and they look at you for this advice, and they would say, he knows what he's talking about. What would you choose? What would you advise somebody to have if they would go into something? And cost isn't a problem. What would you recommend?
Well, I would probably say to it on vogue at the moment, what is in at the moment. So in at the moment, it's all the graphite colours, so it's the greys, the blacks, the darks.
Very contemporary.
I would probably sit down and say something like a Marshall's Blau in a big lay, something like 1.2 by 300 laid in stagger bond, probably with a hand cut barley edge to it, so you'll have a white or cream edge to it just to give it that lift or something like that. That's probably what I would recommend. Again, it's a porcelain product, so there's no maintenance to it, so they wouldn't have very little to do to it. It's durability, it won't soak up any mess or anything like that. But in saying that, Marshall's Caramel Cream, fantastic. Sawn products, this is the natural stone, I don't think we've got the Caramel Cream here, and this one's Caramel Cream. Absolutely lovely. When it's wet, when it's laid absolutely perfect, it shines.
Okay.
And it shows every single sort of grain of the actual stone in it. It's actually a superb product.
I'm going to ask you one of those questions again. As any clients you've had in the past chose a product you thought, my God, that's awful, and you want to tell them, but it's that commercial thing. That's what they want. Have you looked at a product and think
we're quite lucky because we tend to go in before we do any job as either designers or we go into quote as consultants. So we give a client an hour free of our time. So we go in and we sort of say, okay, would you like an area paving? Oh yes, one area paving. I say, what do you like? Is there anything? Because there's no point saying, okay, what we would recommend is this straight away. You might as well find out what they want. And 9 out of 10 times they've been to someone like Travis Perkins and they look at the Marshall's Ribbon Harina, something like that, which is always stacked up sky high in the project pack. And that's what they've seen. And so I quite like the colour of that. I quite like it. It's just ribboned. It's not too deep ribboned. It's quite a nice edge to it. And you say, okay, that's fine. That's quite nice. That's what you class as a mid-range product. Yeah, really, really quite nice. It'll do what you need to do. But what are you using the patio for? Well, actually, we're going to put a fire pit on it, and we're going to have a table and chairs on it, and everything like that. And so, well, the edges are quite informal. So when you put your chair on it, there's that wobble, and it drives you up the wall. A sawn product, a nice smooth product, a nice square edge to it. It's got a flame finish to it, so it's not slippery. It gives that contemporary look. You might look at it, you might say this one's brilliant. You might have a really old cottage, and it might blend in absolutely lovely, and you say that's a really good choice. That's probably what I would go for. But if it's an ultra modern house, you would then say, well, there is other alternatives, and this is where we would have a sample box with us and give them the option of looking at it. But 9 out of 10 times, if something looks really, really wrong for... The worst thing is, and I find the worst thing is, if you've got in Cornwall, if you've got a granite fronted house which is really, really old, really, really rustic, and maybe a thatched roof to it, and then they want something really, really contemporary, like a sawn edge porcelain. And you say, well, that's fine, have a porcelain if you don't want the maintenance, but go down the tumbled edge to it. Yeah. And make it look a little bit more natural. I didn't know you could get it.
No, right.
Well, builders merchants don't stock it because not many people are laying it.
Right.
But if you can show them and 9 out of 10 times you can actually show them the advantages of what would suit their garden a bit better.
You're presenting them with those options, aren't you?
Yeah, invariably if they don't want it, they don't want it. But 9 out of 10 times they take your advice and go for it.
We've talked a little bit about paving. The one thing there, I think there's some real good guys there. There's some beautiful patios, but they get stumped then on the planting. How important it is for a contractor, and is it such a frightening thing to start learning about plants for a garden? And what's your view on that?
Well, for us, planting is the finishing part of the garden. It's the finishing off it. We pride ourselves. So in Cornwall, there are some really, really, really good patio layers, and I mean superb patio. They'll mitre a mitre to death. If it's not within that 1 millimetre, they'll mitre that mitre to death, and it will be done, and it'll be looking absolutely perfect. But when they finish the patios down, but even the area lawn where they cut into isn't reinstated, isn't returfed, isn't finished. The planting around it, we love it, and we pride ourselves by going in and taking the job from start to finish. So we'll do the full planting plan. We'll actually put the plants in, and you get this again cohesion. Because if you've got a really contemporary edge, you can use a contemporary plant. You can use the strap shapes against the rounded shapes, that sort of idea. So you're leaving a finished product. You're leaving a complete finished product.
So and for a landscaper, the advice would be that try to embrace the planting thing, because from that it's an income generating activity, and you'll have maintenance as well, aren't you? It's going to go on, isn't it?
Plants aren't going to bite you. They're not going to bite you. You live and learn. Certain plants want certain conditions, but if you're a pretty good hard landscaper and you know how to work tolerances out, you know how to do a cut, you've got a little bit of time for dedication. So you can spend a little bit of time on Google and say, actually, I'm in Porcelain, which is on the north coast. I'm 500 metres away from the sea. So you just get on Google, tap in your plants suitable for 500 metres away from the sea, see what comes out. And then you can go to your client, actually, a few plants that actually can go in. I've done a little bit of research for you. What do you think? Because 9 out of 10 times, either the clients are absolutely bang on and they know everything, and they know all the plants they want, and they're absolutely brilliant, and you get the plants that they want and you put into a specific design because they love gardening and horticulture is their passion. Or you've got the little old lady or the new couple that just moved into a new house and haven't got a clue, just like you. So why don't you give them a little bit of knowledge that you can give them for 5 minutes?
Absolutely.
And and it's so easy. Get on. I'm going to do a plug now, but get on Whitevale Wholesale, Johnson's of Wixley.
Okay.
They're really, really good people. If you phone them up, and actually, I'm a local landscaper. I'm actually doing a landscaping job, but I'm in the middle of Hampshire. I'm in the middle of Cornwall. I'm in the middle of somewhere. And what I want to try and do is I want some soft planting to go on the edge of a patio. They will give you a list of 10, 15 plants that will grow, height, spread, growth, flowering time of year, and time to do it.
And they want to do it because they want to sell plants.
They want to sell plants. And guarantee, if you had a good service, I know what I would do. I would phone back up again on the next job. And
it's the case, when you finish those jobs, there's nothing better on a nice sunny day, taking a picture of your work with some plants, isn't it? And it's the way forward. Again, for us, for our advertising, we love it, because a finished photograph of a planted garden, a newly turfed all the way around, some nice stunning walls and some dry stone walling, lovely terraces going in, it shows a completed project. So, and if you work at it and you do it, you'll get a name for being almost a one-stop shop. So you can get in for the clearance, which is really good. You can get in for the hard landscaping, the dry stone walling. You can do all the soft landscapes, and once you finish that, if you're really, really good and got a little bit of knowledge about yourself, you'll then follow in with a maintenance service. Yeah, absolutely. Glenn, I'm going to put you on the spot now a little bit, and I did pre-warn you a little bit about this, right? There I am. I've just bought a new house in the urban environment, and it's maybe a townhouse, or it doesn't really matter what it is. I've got a small garden, and I want some work done. I'm looking for a landscaper. What do they look for when they're looking for a landscaper? Give us some tips. I ain't going to say 10 tips or 5 tips, whatever. But what should a customer, if a customer or a potential consumer is watching this now, what would you say to them when they're choosing a contractor? Well, invariably what most people will do is they'll use a search engine. So invariably what they'll do is they'll go through a search engine and have a look through. Once I'm on the search engine and that sort of idea, what they tend to do is they tend to look at reviews. So they look at reviews and they'll see what the contractor's been done, what's been said about the contractor.
And then what they'll do is they'll look at the portfolio, they'll look at pictures, so they look for inspiration. So they'll look for the types of styles, and there's specific style. Like I said, we're curves, we're circles.
Yeah.
You know, we're not quite square regimented or anything like that. So people tend to call us for that sort of idea. We find recommendation. Most people will talk to someone in the local area. Who did you use? Well, that person was quite good, so we use that.
Making sure maybe that they're a member of a professional body.
Yeah, professional body. That's the next one that most people use.
Or the qualifications.
Qualifications that people hold, and probably experience. So you don't have to be a super hot qualified person. If you've got 30 years experience, you must be doing something well, because you've got 30 years experience and you're still trading. So most people will go by that. Predominantly these days, most people will tend to follow over Google, social media, that sort of idea, to get a background on you before you even turn up. And
that's a good thing, isn't it, really? That's one good thing about the social network. Is
very good, yeah, very good, very good. Obviously, you don't always get it right, and we're human. We've been trading quite a few years. We've got some really, really nice reviews. We've got a couple of not so nice reviews. But you take ownership, you stand up and say, actually, yeah, okay, you didn't quite get your samples on the time you wanted your samples. We're really, really sorry about that. Unfortunately, this has happened now. We've moved on. We've learned our lesson. If a client wants a sample now, it will go first class straight away, and we'll double check the address it's going to.
Oh, right. Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what you do. But you learn by your mistakes. You're only human, and you're on the way to go. But most people these days they'll do the research on you before you turn up.
And in an area where you are now down in Cornwall, it's quite a quite tight knit community. People tend to know each other.
Everybody knows everyone.
Around here. So you've built a really good reputation now, so you're halfway in the door, aren't you?
Yeah.
You've got a foot in the door.
And we have what we class as catchment areas. So we have areas which are really quite nice, new design build houses, 6, 7, 8, 9 bedroom houses going up, which are quite expensive. We go in, we do the design and consultancy on one, that's really, really good, and then you find in a couple of months' time or a year's time, someone else buys the house and knocks down another one, puts their own style of house up, so therefore they want the landscaping done. It's like, who done your garden? Oh, that was Glenn Humphries, he works on the area, the point anyway, he's here nearly every other Friday, give him a ring and he'll come and see you. We pop out, we take that one on, and then you bounce to the next and next and so on, sort of thing. So once you build a reputation, the reputation follows you. But you've got to work hard. You've got to work hard to give that reputation
absolutely. Totally.
it deserves.
Look, I want to move on to this fast. I don't want to sort of keep you too long, because I know you're busy. Manufacturers and suppliers, for years and years, that landscapers have always been end of budget. It's not the case no more, though, is it?
No, not no more. People have actually realised that because houses are either getting smaller or families are getting bigger in the houses, that the actual space outside the house constitute a good proportion of the land they own.
Okay.
And this inside-out living, so it's all about the aesthetics. People have got the nice car, they've got the nice sofa, they've got the nice kitchen. Why don't they have a nice garden to go out and enjoy the garden, to set everything else off? It's all about lifestyles. We're finding these days that a lot of people, yes, they're going on holiday, they're enjoying the holidays, but a lot of people are staying at home. And actually, we're having a bank holiday weekend. We're not going to go to London for the weekend. We're not going to go to everywhere we're going to go. We're not going to do this, flight to Barcelona and something like that. We're going to spend the weekend in the garden. So therefore, they want a nice, finished landscape garden to enjoy it.
So you've had your garden landscape. Is it the case that it actually puts value on your house, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's going to help to sell it if you want to sell it.
It's going to help to sell it. It gives you that curb appeal.
Yeah.
The view as you drive past. It's the finishing touch, the approach to your house. It's the wow factor as you walk out the back doors onto a nice terrace or seating area or something like that. Really,
it's like you can always tell a person by their shoes, can't you? And having a nice garden, looking garden, it pulls people in, doesn't it? There we are. Glenn, I've got to ask, favourite plant? Favourite plant? Come on, favourite.
At the moment, God, my favourite plant at the moment is Catalpa bignoides, Indian bean tree.
Oh, the catalpa, yeah.
I don't know why, I'm in love with it.
I've got one.
Yeah, what I do is I grow them in pots.
Okay.
And I start them off in 2 litre pots and get them dead straight standards, and when I get into about 1.2 metres high, I plant them in a 15-20 litre pot, but then I start planting them. And once I start planting them, I can get shapes, and you can move them I've got one at home which I'm actually hoping it's going to come across for a show garden next year, one which we always build every year. We've actually managed to sculpt it into a seat.
Have you really?
And I'm into these swing trees.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's
they're
sort of idea.
beautiful, aren't
So I'm into that sort of idea at the moment. So maybe watch this space, see what happens. But at the moment, Catalpa, it's broadleaf tree. The colours, if you're sitting underneath it and the sun's shining down through it, you don't realise, you don't have to look at the tree from a distance. Get in underneath and look at the veins, look at the seam, look at the colour come through. And it's deciduous. I know it's deciduous, but it's got this really, really dark, rich bark at the moment. It's stunning.
Okay. Favourite colour?
Favourite colour?
For the garden?
Favourite colour, blue.
I knew you was going to say that.
Favourite colour, blue.
Agapanthus?
Agapanthus.
Yeah.
Alliums.
Yeah, looking good.
That sort of style.
Eryngiums?
Yeah.
Okay.
Verbena. Verbena's quite good. Yeah. Coreopsis is another really good one which we use, which is a nice packer. Yeah.
Glenn, there's so much to talk about, and I want to do this again because I think, without a shadow of a doubt, people can learn from you. Okay, and I think it reassures the landscaping industry. I think it reassures the consumer that there are quality contractors out there like yourself, and just want to say thank you for joining me on this podcast.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Oh, by the way, if somebody's trying to find you, how would they find you? Just tell us now.
Find us. Type in Landscapers True or Landscapers Cornwall in Google. Do it in the search engine, or find us on social media. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok.
TikTok. So what do you actually think of social media, Glenn?
Well, people slate it. We run a really good, I think, a really good Facebook page. We're current. We post at least once a week, and we keep it moving. We get 8 or 9 leads a week through it.
From Facebook?
From Facebook.
Yeah.
It's free. It costs me nothing. I sit and eat a pasty, Cornwall pasty. Sit and eat a pasty a lot. But my boys always say, you're always on your phone, boss. You're always on your phone. I'm either answering emails, what I upload at the same time.
No, I get that sort of thing. I
Upload
get
at the
that
same
off my...
time. It costs nothing. It costs nothing to do. Google at the moment. Google's one of the main ones. What we're finding is, we were on Google. We used it for directions. We used it for a driver for our website. But what we've been doing in the last, especially the 6, 8, 10 months, is actually posting to Google. And what it does is it gets you up in the hit ratings on the actual search engine. So if you want to not pay for ads on your actual website, searches or anything like that, set up a Google page, post to it, post once or twice a week. Don't have to be silly with it, but once or twice a week, and you'll find people will find you. They'll find you so much quicker.
Yeah, because the consumer uses Google.
First thing they do, if you want to go onto Facebook, either you've got the app, but if you haven't got the app, you go into Google and you tap Facebook.
Absolutely, number one search engine. Yeah, number one search engine. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.
Happy New Year.
Take care.